God, are you okay? You okay? What's going on? They tell me they found our mum. Shit. Okay, Dad, I'll call you up. I've just got to go and introduce Newsround.
Who is Toby Anstis?
This young lad that grew up in Maidenhead, always dreamed of being a DJ on the radio, and then somehow 30 odd years later, I've got away with it.
You've come through all sorts of battles and got scars from a really young age, which started with adoption.
I was a really happy kid at school, and I was really enthusiastic and full of energy. That's one thing I do have is a lot of energy. But there were bullies. There were 2 or 3 bullies at school who would just bring me down, and they'd say, "Oh, you're adopted. You were faced with this. Oh my God, almost like you've got some kind of disease." So I'm going to do whatever I can to belong. And over years of doing that, you don't really know your authentic self. You're kind of putting on a slightly different face.
You found a family. You found a tribal community.
Yes.
That's where you belong.
My dad was a lawyer. My mum was a magistrate. Really, they were a decent family. There was no one like me in the family that wanted to be a broadcaster. Now, I could have been sort of feeling that I had to people please and go that way. But what I did, I didn't do that. And to this day, I'm pleased with myself. Also, a therapy session. Yeah, but yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. I've never asked this before, but if you can subscribe and follow, that will allow me to keep bringing extraordinary guests onto the show. Now let's get back to it. Toby, welcome.
John, thank you, mate. Thanks for having me on.
Mate, I've had you in my head. I said this off camera for like weeks, and we're finally here.
Okay, well, let's try and get me out of your head now.
Yeah.
I'm sorry to have burdened you for all that time.
It's been a pleasure. Tell me, hardest question.
Right.
Who is Toby Anstis?
Oh my God. Toby Anstis is, well, this young lad that grew up in Maidenhead, out in the sticks, and always dreamed of being a DJ on the radio, and then somehow 30 odd years later, I've got away with it.
Made it happen.
And I still absolutely love it. I think this is like my 25th year on Heart. I know. It's a long time.
Achievement, right?
Yeah, I need a medal. Come on, bosses. What are you thinking about? And when I think about that, I still love it as much as the first day I opened a microphone on, and that was like at a hospital radio station when I was 14. But still, the smell of a radio studio, the mics, the technical equipment, the speakers, the music, all of that was just always something from a very young age I wanted. So that is what I've done for 2/3 of my working life.
It's amazing.
Is be on the radio with a bit of sort of amateur TV before that. But It was kind of, I still love it. I feel very blessed, and I feel at this point in my life, I feel very grateful still to be doing it.
I can feel that. There's a lovely humility to you, despite huge success and longevity. That's a massive, massive amount of time.
Yeah.
Doing something, but because you love it, you can feel it coming off you when you said that. That passion, it's in your eyes, proper glimpse.
Well, it's still a pinch me moment every morning. I go on the radio at 7 o'clock. To get to do that, to get to start the day with other people, and try and bring a little bit of fun into their life and a bit of energy and stuff like that. That gets me pumped. And it was always about wanting to share my passion for life and music and and good times with a lot of people. And radio is the perfect way to do it. And I'm still completely buzzed up every time I go on.
I can tell. I want to ask you this, right? When you are bringing joy to all those people,
hopefully.
You are. You wouldn't be doing it anymore, right?
Yeah, well.
Plenty of time for people to have written in and gone, get
there are
someone else.
other stations out there, yeah.
So, but you're in a room on your own. You've got producers, but you're not actually with those people. And yet, with you now, you're so personable. There's a vibration, there's a connectivity.
Right, okay.
How do you, heartfelt compliment.
Yeah.
How do you project that to everyone where they clearly feel it, but you're actually not with them?
Yeah, no, it's the oddest thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, it looks very strange and very kind of odd just to think you sit there talking to yourself for 3 hours a day. But, it's not about that. It's. I'll tell you what it goes back to. My first early days of working in hospital radio, and I worked at Wexham Park in Slough. And the first job I got to do was to go ward rounding, and I look forward to going and doing that a couple of times a week. And you go round Ward 20, which was the maternity ward, and I think 21 at Wexham Park, and they still are. I remember it so well.
Proper memory there.
But you go down there and you chat with a family that just had their baby. It's the happiest time of their life. And they said, oh, I'd love it if you could play me this song. And then you go back and you give that requested message to the DJ, who would then play it out. And then the joy and the happiness that would bring to those people directly. And, that stayed with me right up until now, where I can still picture that woman or that man or that kid smiling because you've just done something for them on the radio. You've just played them a song and you said congratulations. And that is one-on-one. That is, for me, yes, there's video, yes, there are podcasts, there are all these different levels of platforms and social media and everything. And that's cool. It can all live in the same space. But for me, radio is and will always just be about sitting down and remembering that one person and the joy you can bring to that one person. And it's that, and there are lots of those people listening, but there's just one hopefully smiling person in my head. So it goes back to that. And that's my drive every morning, really, I just think about that.
There's a visualization there.
Yeah.
And if you reframe that back to the audience, right, they will feel that. So this is an interesting one for you, because you just mentioned podcasts or different platforms, social media, the fight for attention now.
Yeah, there's
off the scale.
It's well competitive, yeah.
But you have got your heart dance breakfast slot, which you've done before filming me now.
Thank you for the plug. Amazing.
Yeah. And the point is that loads of people will have listened to that, started their day, which is an early start for you, right?
Yeah.
And these people are choosing to listen to that. And is there a connection there where they are still wanting a human talking to them that's real? It's Toby. And actually there's a lovely longevity piece where they've heard you for years and so on. Are we still craving that? Because AI is taking over. There's any number of podcasts and so on, but actually there's a consistency that seems to still work with radio.
Yeah. Well, I think more than ever, to be honest, because there is so much out there. There's so much noise that I think if you can be comfortable with someone that's talking to you and, starting your day, if you choose to start your day with someone, and I think that loyalty that you can build up and that kind of relationship is really strong. I remember when a few years ago, when people at radio stations were getting a bit worried about, they were like, oh, Spotify, what's this thing coming along? People are going to build their own playlists, and how's that going to impact radio? And I remember saying at that time, I said, guys, I wouldn't stress too much, because I really believe the human interaction is something that a bot or anything else or any AI cannot replicate. A human with experience, with a genuine desire to connect with people and to relate things that you're feeling to them, that they're feeling on the other end. I think that's crucial, and I still think that's really, really important.
If anything, it's more important now, wouldn't you say? It's almost heightened.
I do think it's important, because, you get, people going through all sorts of challenges and tough times in their life. And if you can just crack that a little bit and help people, through their day, then that's a sweet spot to get to. Yeah. And I still think that's really, really important. I really, really do. As I said, there are all these different things coming at you. But if you can just enjoy a relationship with that person in the morning or the afternoon, whenever it might be, I think that's still really important, still crucial.
I love that. And actually, that's a way of bringing your own personal journey in, because what you just said then, proper empathy, it comes from a place where, you've come through all sorts of battles and, got scars from a really young age, which started with adoption, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, my twin sister and me were adopted when we were babies. And I could spend all day here talking to you, through John Bowlby attachment theories and how they impact people. But yeah, essentially, I mean, if you're adopted, you are, your relationship with your mum is severed at an early age or whatever age it might be. And, that leaves a bit of a primal wound, and that wound never probably completely heals, but you have to, I've had to work on myself and do therapy and also find a way of dealing with certain situations, getting bullied for being adopted at school, which I could never really understand. I was a really happy kid at school, and I was really enthusiastic and full of energy. That's one thing I do have is a lot of energy. What I don't have, hopefully it gets made up in terms of energy and enthusiasm for life. And so I would go about my school days and, as a pretty happy kid, and I enjoyed school a lot. I liked studying, I liked playing a lot of sport. But there were bullies. There were 2 or 3 bullies at school who would just bring me down, and they'd say, "Oh, you're adopted. You're like a failure. You're just a piece of whatever." And it's one thing that would freeze me to the spot I'd hear them. I'd come out of a class and I'd hear them doing it, or they'd come up and do it in my ear. Two or three of them. I won't mention their names because there's no point. But that was really, really difficult, because you feel fine for most of the day, and then you were faced with this. Oh my God, almost like you got some kind of disease. Sort of like, yeah, I'm adopted, and I didn't quite know how to handle that. I'd freeze to the spot and then just wander off a little bit with my head down and try and get on with my day, and I found that quite difficult.
What would you say to someone? I've lived that.
Well,
I've lived that with you. You explained that so passionately, and I could tell there's so much emotion there.
I mean, there was. Yeah.
I'm imagining a parent or a youngster that is like the kid that froze, that now has done all the work on himself to know exactly what he would do, and not be ashamed or embarrassed of something that was out of his control anyway.
Yes.
What would you say?
What is somebody feeling?
Yeah, someone that's heard that and is experiencing that through themselves or their own children.
Well, it's really difficult, because I feel I've got more confidence now because I've done the work on myself to try and build up my self-worth and myself, my self-esteem, which was, pretty hit, and you carry that through your life, and at some point you have to confront that and you have to work on it. So I would just say to someone if you still retain feelings like that, if you have them, you do have to go and talk to someone, or just, you've got to make the decision. I don't want to carry this around. This is just interfering with my life. So, I had to make the decision, right, I think I need to go and sort this out. And that's what I'd say. Just have the confidence in yourself to go and talk it out. In the end, you'll be so much better for it. And I am, but I'm work in progress. We all are, aren't we?
Yeah, but
adoption's one thing. We all have our own things going on, and I hate to somehow make it seem like it's a bigger problem than other people have. It isn't. We all have our own issues, things to crack through. But for me, that is one. It is a big one, because I carried a lot of anger that I'd been given up, really, and and then you've got I had to deal with that.
Yeah,
and it was a really awful situation for my birth mum anyway. So I feel so much sympathy for her, and there's so much love for her in terms of what she did. She had to give us up, but we've been very fortunate. We've got two amazing parents that have brought us up, and they are wonderful. But you still have to find a way. I had to find a way to belong in a nest that didn't necessarily feel, you don't look like your parents and my late brother, and they were very different, in terms of personality traits and looks and all those things. So you do feel different.
Yeah.
So you got the bullies at school, and then you've got your own home thing. You think, okay, I've got to find a way to fit into this and to belong. So I'm going to do whatever I can to belong. And over years of doing that, you don't really know your authentic self. You're kind of putting on a slightly different face. Not completely, but one that has to that you think you need to put to create.
Masking
to fit in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas it's bizarre when you think about it, because my parents never said, oh God, if you do that, or if you need to be like this, or it was just what I felt. And from the way my brain must have programmed those millions of neurons when you're taken away from your mum and given to foster parents, and all that noise and all the stuff that's going on, the turbulence, your brain had to program how to survive that.
Yeah.
So you carry that through and blah, and
thank you for sharing that.
It's
I don't know if you thought about this as an analogy before, but 25 years at heart.
Yeah.
And your issue and the trauma from not belonging. You found a family. You found a tribal community.
Yes.
That's where you belong.
Yeah.
I don't know if you thought about that. That's a lovely, because the child that was not experiencing that, not feeling that, you've got people around you that love you.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's potentially no act. I mean, I always wanted to just share music and my passion for that with people, but obviously there is the return on that of being on the air every day is that, you get people texting and saying, oh, we really enjoy your show, or you're great, what a nice guy you are, blah, 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 hopefully. And people just, with that kind of love that people show is definitely, has helped me.
Yeah, it's a stimulation. Keeps you giving.
It's a stimulation, and as you say, it is like a family, it is a tribe. Sometimes people say, God, Toby, you're married to your work. Well, my work kind of is like my partner in a way. We've had highs and ups and downs with it, but it's generally just been the consistent thing in my life. And also what's important, I was saying this to my girlfriend the other day, that the one thing about radio, it's the one thing that I chose. My dad was a lawyer. My mum was a magistrate. Really, they were a decent family. But there was no one like me in the family that wanted to be a broadcaster. There was no, accountants, lawyers, all that kind of thing in the family. And that's all good. Now, I could have been sort of feeling that I had to people please and go that way. But what I did, I didn't do that. And to this day, I'm pleased with myself.
You heard that back for yourself.
Yeah.
Bless you, mate. No, honestly, it's really powerful how quickly you've gone into the work that you've done yourself.
Also a therapy session. Yeah, but yeah.
Bless you, mate. There's some serious strength.
I take a deep breath. Sometimes you just get whew. Excuse me.
Mate,
I'll be right.
You take your time.
But it is the one thing that, and I can be proud of, that I did.
I'm proud of you, man. Yeah, you took control when you could have gone a route that would have been. So you mentioned like,
sounds like a mad thing. It gets me because I think, it's been so important to have that.
Yeah. When did you last let it out?
I think about a couple of weeks ago. But it's really. Thanks for asking it, and apologies for getting quite emotional, but
not at all.
It has been. It's when you hear you saying that back to me, and then I think about it, and with all the things that all the highs and lows, that has been there to be able to go on the radio every day, and actually talk to my lot, and they are like a family. You talk to them, and that kind of connection has been so crucial. It's helped me through so many things. It's my happy place, and I can go there. If I have relationship problems or whatever problems they might be, or stress, whatever it is, I know I can go on there and I've been able to deliver, I hope, to the standard, the level that I want every day, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist. But I know, and I've been through some pretty awkward times. I've had to go on the TV or radio and I've had to nail it. But I can, because I can just get myself focused, I can get in there. I mean, this is bonkers. But while we're talking about this, when my twin sister and me, we'd always had conversations for a few years about whether we wanted to find our birth mum and our birth dad. And my parents had always been wonderfully supportive and said, look, we know you might want to do that, so we'll support that. And then we decided, right, let's do it.
How old were you?
We were about 23, 24 at the time. And me and Kay said, right, we're going to do this because we've got so many questions, whether it's health or families, whatever, stuff that we need to know. We feel we have a right to know. So we hired a private investigator to find our birth mum. And it didn't take a lot of time, as it wouldn't, because you've got the internet and stuff. We had enough information to give the investigator names and stuff that we could find her. And I was on telly every afternoon on BBC One at that time. So I was doing children's BBC, and the investigator had been working for us for a couple of days, and I got the director said, Toby, they just had a phone call in makeup, and your sister's on the phone. I think she really needs to talk to you. I'm like, oh my God, is everything all right? I said, just you need to go in there. So we were just kind of rehearsing the next link we were going to do, which, as it turned out, was a really big gear change into a very serious news round extra about something or other, I can't remember. Anyway, so I dashed out to the makeup room. My sister was sort of in tears and quite emotional. She said, Toby, I said, oh my God, are you okay? You okay? What's going on? I said, Toby, they found our mum. I'm like, oh, shit. Okay, I'll call you up. I've just got to go and introduce news round. Can we chat about this later? It was like that. And I'd just been told, pretty groundbreaking thing, well, life-changing thing in so many ways. And I thought, okay, now I've got to park that and I've got to go into look down a camera lens and on BBC One and introduce after being told that. So Do you see what I mean? You know,
do.
broadcasting, you can go and do that, or particularly with radio, you can jump in and you're kind of, you can blank everything else out.
Yeah.
And you can just go into your, it doesn't mean that you can avoid what's going on, because when you've done your radio or whatever, you've got to come and face it.
Yeah.
But at least it's been there. It's been the constant.
Yeah.
And I'm so, again, I can say, you know, and this is with no arrogance whatsoever. I'm just proud of myself to have pursued what I really wanted against so many odds and done all right in it. Yeah. You know, and that, if anything, is going to lift my esteem. It's knowing that and holding on to that.
It's inspiring to listen to, for me, for anyone else.
Yeah.
That I see your vulnerability as such a strength. We're living in a time where something called a manosphere has been allowed to happen through the algorithm, and there's guys who would never allow themselves to let that emotion out.
I don't care, you know, because it's you know, crying's like laughing. You know, it's just a human emotion, and you can't hold these things back. And I'm glad you asked the question, and I'm glad that I don't feel embarrassed to sit there and cry. I don't mind what people might think about that. There's the wound, and there it opens up, and there you are as this person. It's become more and more your authentic self, and that is quite a thing to get your head around and to be happy about.
Yeah, your relatability and your authenticity is infectious, and you've given permission for other people.
Yeah.
To witness that, to see it, and the world didn't end. You know, no one told them off. You know, all the things that are the sort of constraints and barriers to why people lock up their emotions, which is why I love the fact that you love is probably the wrong way of saying it, but 2 weeks ago you obviously let emotion out again. It wasn't 2 years ago. You're allowing yourself to do that.
No, definitely. I mean, this is quite a journey the last few months, because I just felt I wanted to pop back and have some chats with a therapist, just, you know, covering off all sorts of things. And you know, it's a stage of life. It's what you're thinking, what your next chapter might be. It's all sorts of things going on. And that brings a lot up, you know. And you have to face those things. You have to allow yourself just to go like that. Mm-hmm. There's no point in, I couldn't have done this, John, a few years ago. I couldn't have done it. I was just too, wouldn't have been able to open up quite as much. I've had to give myself permission to do that, and also just to be able to talk openly. I mean, I was kind of ashamed about being adopted for a lot of my life, and only in the last few years have I that somebody can say, "Oh, you're adopted," or I can talk about it and not feel like I want the earth to kind of freeze up, or I want to drop through a trapdoor. You know, there'd even be family occasions where somehow my twin sister Kate was always a lot more confident about it. She didn't mind talking about being adopted when she was at school and growing up, whereas I was like, God, no, don't mention that. I was really, whether it was because of bullying, I don't know. The way I didn't want people to know that I was different, to make it a big thing of it. Whereas Kate was so much more authentic about it. And I somehow felt like, God, I didn't want people to know about it. Let them in, because somehow that would just be a badge that wasn't necessarily desirable. And that's so ridiculous when you think about it. You should be...
Yeah, but you were doing the best you could at the age that you were with all of the... And those kids, there's a feeling that can come in. But bullying is often not just about what's actually said, it's about how they made you feel. You were made to feel different at that point. It's heartbreaking for me to hear that you were a happy kid, because your positivity, and I'm going to use that word again, is infectious.
Yeah.
You know, the way that we've been connected by someone. Yeah. I'll call him out, Tim Ferriss. You know, he's like, you're going to love him. He's just the most positive person.
Tim's great, yeah.
And you had that from a young age, and it was potentially, you know, beaten out of you. Yeah. You stayed on course to try and keep your positivity. And you're here now, giving positivity out to me, to other people this morning, whatever else you're doing this afternoon.
Well,
that's the best compliment I can give you.
Well, if it does help someone, then there you go, job done. Yeah. I can only talk to you as honestly and openly as I do.
Can I jump in? I think it's really important that you know, that the expression "you've changed." The best compliment to you is that the young kid that was like, "Shh, don't talk about that," and so on to your sister and so on, to now talking about it now, is that you've done the work on yourself. You've spent the time, rather than boxing that, because that does happen with people. They box it up, and I do not go there. Yes. I will not open it. You do not open it, and then there's a lack of strength there. Yeah. So that's where I was trying to say your vulnerability is such a strength. I feel that.
Well, you're a role model. We all as humans like to tuck things under the carpet. And ultimately, that's never going to be the healthiest way to deal with stuff, because they'll just come back to bite you. And I had this big juggernaut of emotions to deal with, and I've had to pick that off and work through stuff.
Yeah.
And it's great to get to a point where you feel I've definitely improved. You know, I've got some. I feel so much more me, and you have to. A therapist talked about this. You have to marry the young, lost sort of Toby with the adult that's done pretty well, because you can carry these sort of past journeys with you. You can carry this narrative from the past until you get to the point where you just have to let that go. But you have to kind of interface this young, how you were once, and those feelings that you had with your life now, and try and feel proud about yourself for what you've done, and feel confident. You know, for like a proper adult. You know, it sounds a bit odd, but you do have to find that person. Yeah. You know, and I think the lovely thing for me personally, you know, being on the radio, is that I feel so natural. I'm at my most natural. You know, talking to you is lovely as well, but on the radio, I just feel it's such a lovely place to be, to have that connection, and also to feel what other people are feeling as well. I really love that intimacy of it.
The audience will feel that. They will feel
I hope so.
Do you have it where people, I'm sure you have this, stop you in the street, and
that was a crap tune you played at 8:10.
But there's that relatability piece is almost like they know you. And I imagine you embrace that, whereas some people would be like, that was my work.
Yes.
I've left that and I'm trying to get to M&S now, sort of thing. Yeah. Actually, I bet you probably quite like that. There's an element of familiarity where these people are kind of like, you know, just as if they know you because of how much you give of yourself.
Yeah, well, I think the biggest compliment is when people say, God, it's like having a mate every morning. You're so friendly and so warm. People say that. I can't be anything else. I was never going to be a gritty left field comic, or, you know, irreverent sort of, you know, wacky, or you know, these kind of...
You've not tried to be anyone
else. Never tried to be anything else. I mean, I think when you're growing up, you know, when I was 14, I was honoured to be Steve Wright in the afternoon, you know. Made a terrible, abysmal attempt at doing that. You know, because all you've got are these people that you've looked up to and you hear every day, and you try to filter some of those things into your broadcast, but then you gradually find your own personality and how you're going to relate that to people, and how you're going to do that on a microphone. As you say, it's a very kind of unnatural thing to think about. So you're just in a room talking to nothing, but you're not, in my mind.
No.
And you know, the other thing, you know, it's as I go, going back to that ward rounding and seeing those happy people that you just take a request from and then you play from, you know, that will always be with me. Ward 20 at Wexford Park Hospital, can't believe it, maternity, you know, it'll always be. TV, I never found the same. It never felt like home. Radio feels like home to me.
How did you deal with it?
TV never did. I was thrust into it, not thrust into it against my will.
Well, that's why I want to go there.
It was
because you obviously put yourself in a position to get into TV, but so many people want to.
Oh God!
And there's a whole rejection piece there, which goes back to the kid that was bullied, that didn't want to put themselves in a position of not belonging. But you put yourself in a position to face rejection front on, because it's brutal, right?
Well, on that side of things, on the one hand, you've got this kind of this feeling of being able to share with people, and you know, it's like a mutual love or respect, or whatever you want to call it, with your listeners. But at the same time, the industry outside of that little bubble that you're in is brutal. Broadcasting is, but I didn't kind of choose to go. I mean, I was sending out demos from hospital radio and getting rejection letter after rejection letter, and then I went to uni and studied psychology. And which, of course, I was going to study psychology. Of course, I was going to major in developmental and John Bowlby in attachment and adoption. I was so interested in people like me. I wanted to learn about it. I spent 3 years learning about it. But and then just out of nowhere, this it's too long. I don't know how to cut it. I've always tried over the years to try and condense this story of how I ended up on the telly. But partly I would say, you know, talking about it too much, because it would just really piss people off that are desperate to be TV presenters. But essentially, I was just in the right place at the right time. That horrible old thing, right face, right place, right time. But I was just sort of spotted by a producer at the BBC who decided that I was going to be the fit, exactly what he was looking for. as a presenter to join Andy Peters and Philippa Forrester on children's BBC back in the day, the 90s. And I was asked to do a little show reel, and then that went in, and it was an awful. The BBC, they asked me, it's funny, I said, we should film you changing a wheel on a car, because if you can make that vaguely entertaining, and I've got my car here and we can do it, then you might stand a chance. But it was a bloody awful demo. You know,
we obviously saw something.
Yeah, and I couldn't get the wheel off.
Maybe that was it.
Yeah, but maybe that was it. Just me swearing, just walking off and getting a coffee. Thinking, I'll leave that. I'm going to get a pasty. You know, but so we send that into the. We sat there, and then they madly asked me for an interview at the BBC. So I went to Television Centre and did a little audition, and felt that I'd gone really badly. And this is all surreal because I'd only just graduated not long before that, and I was in a house share with some people. We'd all from some 4 other graduates, and we were sat there, and the phone went, and it was Paul Smith at the BBC saying, "Toby, yeah, hi, it's Paul. You just came to an audition this afternoon." Yeah, crap, wasn't it? He went, "Well, how do you feel it went?" "Well, not particularly well." And I'm not on the phone, and everyone's around me going, "What is it? Where was it? Who was it?" "Paul from the BBC." He said, "Well, we'd like you to join the team." I'm like, "Are you having a laugh?" And that was it. And there's no structured way of getting into to be a TV presenter or radio presenter. There were going to be bits of luck and mad ones like that, the universe doing what it does. And I ended up, landing this job on, I got a 6-month contract. I thought after that, I'll just go back to my graduate sales job. And it was a learning curve. And I did that for 6 months, and then they kept me on. And and ended up doing a bit more stuff at the BBC, and you know, we were on every day, so you got quite well known doing the broom cupboard every afternoon, you know, with 15 million people watching Neighbours, and you were on just before that every day. So whatever you put in the broom cupboard, it was going to be, even if it was a puppet, it was going to get famous, and the puppets got more famous than us, to be honest. But we bloody aardvarks. But no, so but essentially, I did about 8 or 9 years of various. I then went on to do the lottery and work on other bits and bobs at the BBC and other shows, which I'm very lucky to do. But I never felt completely comfortable doing telly, and I wasn't great. I don't think I was great at it, but that was my means to get onto Heart and to get a tryout on overnights, and that was, so I ended up effectively doing 8 or 9 years of telly to get the job that I really, really wanted.
Isn't that what it's about?
I really
journey.
wanted.
Yeah. You went back to your roots. You went back to what excites you.
Well, yeah, and a lot of people
and you would have got a lot of experience. You would have had a lot, and you also then the intrigue of TV that may not have happened through the stars aligning for you. There may well have been an intrigue to go into. It may not have been the experience that you had.
Yeah, that's true.
So it's all part of your.
It's very true. But the irony of doing the radio was that when my agent at the time, Nige, called Heart up, and he pestered them and said, "Look, please, can you give Toby a tryout? He really wants to be a DJ." And they said, "No, I think Toby's a bit too much of a TV boy." And now, look at the numbers of TV people that are on the radio, because there's not as much TV, so they're trying to get on the radio. Whereas for me, my passion was always for doing the radio, so I did it that way round.
And you're there because you want to be there.
Well, I do. You know, I do radio because I genuinely absolutely love it and adore it. It's all I ever wanted to do. It's not just another bit of work for me every day. It's not just part of a portfolio. It's just my main thing that I adore, and still grateful to be doing it.
So another 25 years?
Oh, I don't know about that. Not on Heart. I've joked before they'll have to wheel me out of that building at Global. But no, I mean, I always...
But my point is, there's nothing in your eyes that says to me that you're like, I give it a few more years, and so you just keep going.
Well, that's not up to me necessarily, is it?
You would keep doing it.
I would always do... You know, you always think maybe I should change and try something else, but no, because what I know and what I love, and I'm still getting better all the time. I still do shows and think, God, that wasn't the best show. So I can't wait to race in the next day and do a better show and not make the same mistakes. And I'm always searching to do the best show I can do.
Can you give me an example? I'm really interested in that.
Yeah.
That critical version of yourself. And what can you get wrong on radio? What do you want to get better at?
Oh, I could talk about something and think that wasn't really... I could talk about something, and then when I've done the link, think, that wasn't the best out. I should have done that as the out. There was a thing staring at me there, and why didn't I pick up on that? I should have finished with that, or why did I do that? Why did I tease a song now? I should have just left it at the end of that link and then just banged. There were lots of little things, or I just won't have sold, even if I don't sell a tune. One thing I hate hearing on the radio is just laziness, and we've all been. If I ever am, if you just people that just go on there and say, oh, I know, next up Coldplay and Living Joy. That to me, why would I want to stay as a listener when I've just had that?
Yeah.
That's just laziness.
Yeah, you are literally just
I want to say, oh my God,
facilitating.
next, 95. That was just such a big year for dance music. One of the standout tunes that's going to absolutely rock some memories for, in a couple of minutes. If I haven't done that, I say, God, Tobe, come on, you've got to pull yourself
I love
together.
that. There's a bit of storytelling. There's a whole setting the scene, which you can do because you've got the knowledge and the passion for it.
Yeah.
So why would you not? But I get it.
But I think that's always the driver for me because I love doing it so much. I don't want to let them down and the audience. I don't want to let myself down. So I'm always just wanting to get better. And I listen to other people and someone like, oh God, they're so good. Why can't I be that good? They might talk about something that I did and they think, oh, they took that subject matter and they really smashed that. And why didn't I do that?
But I'll do that. I'll do that with this conversation later. And I'm thoroughly enjoying it, thoroughly present with you now. But there'll be a part of me sitting somewhere later to be like, oh,
yeah.
Why didn't? And is that not part of what makes us trying to always be better?
You're a perfectionist.
Yes, but without any complacency or arrogance, which is the opposite of what we're doing, isn't actually nice to see. Where for whatever reason, people looking at us, listening to us, we think we're doing really well and we think we're the best we can be. That doesn't work. Actually, someone that is just aspiring to always be better.
Yeah.
And is perhaps managing the self-critical, because I can be really hard on myself, and I'm pretty sure you can.
Yeah.
That's probably my biggest challenge.
Yeah.
And not focusing on that.
No, I mean, I can do what I consider to be not a strong enough link, and I carry that all day. And it's like, God, I can't get on the air soon enough to put that right. Not that I do the same link, but I just don't want to come out feeling that way again. I have to go and smash, go and punch a bag in the gym or something for about an hour to get at me, and then it's not. Yeah, but I still enjoy and love it every morning. But there's this degree of, come on, stop being, don't let yourself down again. You need to do that better next time. Yeah. And it's really, really bloody annoying having that. But I guess that's it's like you with your job, me with mine. It's always been about delivering a good radio show. It's not been about the fame. TV was never about that. That came by accident. And then you got well known from doing it and you make a little bit of a mark. Doing radio, it's a job, but it's more of a way of life. But I love doing it, but I take it very seriously, and I take it. There's an element of responsibility as well. If people, with all the stations they've got, if they choose to, to tap Hard Dance in the morning or Club Classics on a Friday night, they're making a choice. You can't let them down, or they'll punch out of that. And that's where this whole thing, that link wasn't good enough. They can just punch it. I can't allow. I don't want to show anybody the door. The door's open. They come in. I want to make them welcome. I don't want to give them any kind of excuse to leave that room.
Do you know?
And if I do, I can't legislate for the music necessarily. I have a little bit of input, but generally that's the playlist put together by people that know what they're doing. But if we let them down, if it's music, I can't really. But I control what I say.
Just about to say.
And what I do. So that if I get that wrong, that's my own bloody fault.
You control the controllables.
You control those variables.
You really care about it.
Yeah, and you can't worry about. They say, don't worry about what you can't change. Well, that's still bloody hard to stick to that.
Totally.
Because, there are things I know I can't change, but I still want to change them. But you've got to take, that's energy that you'll just waste. You need to expend the energy into and really focus on what you can change or make better and just throw everything at that. And then at least you've given it everything. What I've, all the way through my life, one thing I can say is that whether I've done it badly or well, I've given it 100%.
Yeah.
Every single filming thing, every single radio show, whatever it is, I can be proud of the fact I've given it everything.
Yeah.
If it didn't work out, well, I couldn't have done any more.
I shared with you before we started filming, one of the things that really piqued my interest was how you stay relevant. Because a lot of people talk about that. A lot of people talk about the whole staying relevant. And you said, what does that mean?
I don't really know what
you just answered it beautifully. You care every single day about what you do. You've never got any complacency.
Is that relevance then?
Yes.
Yeah.
Because the whole principle of what you're doing on the radio and anything else you do that interacts with people, it means that people can feel it. If you'd switch that off and be like, well, you know, I've done this for 25 years, I've done this for 30 years, it kind of comes naturally to me. I don't need to think too hard about this.
No.
People will feel that. I honestly think that's the answer, because I was quite thinking that's going to be so interesting for me. And what would you say? You don't even know how to answer it, but you feel it, you do it.
Yeah.
When you go on the radio tomorrow morning you tell me the 100,000th time, it will be really important to you. It will mean the world to you in that moment. I think everyone will realise. Everyone knows that.
Because I care.
Yes.
I care about it. It's that, you know, it's a big job to do that every morning, and you've got to do it well. But the more prep I do, the more things I listen to, the more things I go and see, you know, the better I know I'll be at it.
Yeah.
And that's the deal. You know, I open the mic every morning and I'm in like a happy place. And the whole thing about, because I think when people talk about being relevant, it's, you know, they talk about, you think about pop stars like Madonna or Kylie, people that reinvent, and they'll have to go down a different track. They'll have to change their style of music, and it might work or it might not, or their look, whatever they want to do. Everyone's entitled to whatever they think they need to do. But what are they doing it for? What are they trying to do? Are you trying to stay? I think what's important is that you kind of keep a balance between being authentic but keeping up. You know, I'm really I'm obsessed with language, for example. You know, when I hear other presenters on the radio, some people, it's the words you use, I think, around your links and stuff. And language evolves as well. You know, the 25 years I've been on Heart, well, certainly in 2001, I wasn't saying, jump on the text or the WhatsApp. You know, people were faxing requests in 2001. We had a bloody fax machine. But there's just, you just have to, I think just if you're aware of what's going on in the world, it's not like I'm trying to be 30 again when I started. I'll never try and do that. That just would sound awful. But you just need to be aware of how people are talking about things and how they're describing things without stepping out of being authentic. You know, you've got to still be, people can see through, you know, things and people, can't they?
Your self-awareness is
you have to be, but you have to be, again, it's another thing. You can hear people on the radio and I don't believe what they're saying about a song or something, but there are other people that really do connect.
Yeah, and you would notice that more than most. I think I
notice it a lot
as well. Yeah, you would, because you know the heart and soul that you put into, and also you've got the knowledge. So you'll be able to. I listened to this tune first because you did. Whereas perhaps some of these people have come in and they just want to be famous. Yes. It comes on the radio, whereas you come in with the love of music, the love of entertaining people. We're out of time, and I don't want this to end. I know. I'm just checking you're all right, because you have been so vulnerable.
God,
to that, and I've loved it. And I feel like you've given me 110% of yourself, and I wanted to thank you for that authentic version of you.
Thank you for having me on. I mean, I've looked at, your podcast, you know, the people have on, it's amazing. You know, David Dean, you had on it. I'm an Arsenal fan. It was really interesting hearing from him, and James Haskell, the big rugby player, and his vulnerabilities. And you know, we've all got them. And I'm not going to say, you know, to be able to be open and honest with you and chat about stuff openly is something that I couldn't always do. No. So for that reason, it is quite emotional when I hear myself saying those things to you. But I'm also really happy to let myself, you know, I'll dive in.
Yeah. Well, I thank you for that.
It's a pleasure. I'm sorry if I did get quite emotional.
Don't apologise.
But you know, when you hear those things, it's like you know, when you talk them out, and you get that sense of, God, you know, I've done it. I've made it. I've done 25 years, and I'm still going.
Yeah.
And you're right. I still don't. It's in my blood. Anyway, I'll never.
Yeah. You'll be wheeling in a wheelchair, mate.
Yeah. I mean,
people will be like, you know, terrified of the day that you're not there anymore. It could become that.
I don't think I'll be terrified. I think I'll be.
What are we going to do? Where's our mate?
Oh no, I mean, you know, people get on with their lives, don't they? And they.
Yeah. Well, I don't underestimate how important I think you are to a lot of people.
Oh, well, that's really
And
kind.
to make time to film with
Would
me
you set me
today.
off again, bud?
No, I mean it. I really do.
Yeah.
I think that's how you come to me.
Right. Okay.
And that's what I'm experiencing now. So
Yeah.
when I have the time to listen to the radio, and I love dance music, so that's my
Yeah.
go-to. There's lots of people that clearly, value you, love what you do.
Yeah.
And
I hope so.
keep on rocking, man. Keep on doing it.
No,
And thank you for making time for this.
No, thank you. It's a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, mate.